Hi, this is James and Denise from Vegas Real Estate Advisors, and we want to do a short video to talk about what kind of market are we in today. Is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? You hear a lot of that, but you don't know it by definition. So
right now we're in June 2026, Las Vegas Henderson. Things have definitely shifted and it's not crashing, but we have a full shift where I would say we are in a buyer's market, because just a few years ago, explain what was happening just a few years ago.
Well, with the COVID, we called it champagne and cocaine. I mean, it's 2021, interest rates were super low. You could get a home for, under 4%, like 3.25% on your mortgage rate, and homes were flying off the shelf. So, what is a buyer's market? So it's really on supply and demand. So if you think about it, if there's a lot of inventory, that means that there's a lot of, you can make your terms as wanting to buy a home. If there's very low inventory, that means the sellers can kind of dictate the whole process.
Yeah. Well, nowadays our days on market are increasing. So before, everybody was expecting to just sell within 30 days or less. I mean, it was hot. Nowadays, we have an average of 60 to 70 days on market. The Valley has about a 4-month supply. However, that doesn't apply to every house. If you have a regular run-of-the-mill, it's everybody has a bedroom and a bathroom and a kitchen, those are sitting. If it is exceptional and it's improved and it's nice and it's unique, it'll fly off the shelves. However, some homes won't sell in 6 months, if at all. The ones that are selling are still going to take about 3 to 4 months. That to me is a full shift more towards normalizing the market. It's a normal market between 3 and 6 months, besides the COVID insanity.
But let's talk about why that is and why our information is going to bring you value. So the homes that are coming on the market today, they're overpriced. You don't have to look at home and say it's overpriced. The sellers are still thinking of aspirational pricing. So by the numbers, a home coming on market today, it's a median price of $520,000. The average sold price, or the median sold price, is $490,000. So what's that mean? That means that the sellers are pricing way over what the value is. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is that they want a higher number. They just are greedy and they're like, this is my investment. I've got too much invested in this home, and I want to get the top value for that. But also, they're also probably building in some seller concessions to help the buyer in that sense. So you want to explain seller concessions and what that does?
Well, I'll kind of frame it, but I'll have you go deeper. Now, right now, a lot of people are like, let's just start high. Let's just see what we can get. And that's absolutely the wrong strategy to do right now, because you're wasting days on market if you're going to test 20, 30,000 over, because you're like, oh, they're going to lowball me anyway. Well, trust me, the buyers are lowballing anyway. It doesn't matter if you're overpriced or underpriced or fairly. Here's why. Rates are in the 7s. We need rate buy downs, and hopefully they can get a seller concession credit to buy down their interest rate for a 30-year loan. Buyers cannot buy it down. Only a seller credit can buy it down. So that is huge when a seller tells me, I refuse to give any money. Well, that's not the mindset. Nowadays, you have to be open and willing to say, I'm willing to sell my home to help this buyer qualify for it. I will be taking it as a credit to help them with a rate buy down, whereas that makes more sense than just saying, oh, the purchase price is down 10 grand. Explain why a purchase price dollar of a sales price versus a credit makes a huge difference.
Yeah, so let me put my listing agent hat on and say that, sellers price essentially in 3 categories. And the first one, needs to be completely out the window. And that's aspirational pricing. This is not the market to price just a touch over, test the market, we'll adjust in 30 days. No. In your first 21 days as a listing, you need to get traffic, you need to get a buzz, not click and swipe left, okay? Do not do aspirational pricing. It is not effective in this market. Number two, you do fair market value, right? So I'm pricing the home based on the comps, on this model, the square footage in this neighborhood. That's a very common thing to do, but I would say don't do that. Don't do that. And this is why, okay? And this is out there, this message to the sellers out there. Do you want to compete? Do you want to compete and get that buyer because your neighbor down the street is competing? Do you want to compete and get your home sold within 30 to 60 days? Because by the numbers, for every 100 homes, there are 6 buyers. So that is why your home is sitting. Now the third, which is what you need to do in this market, is event-based pricing, meaning I'm just going to be just under that fair market value, and I'm going to stick out from the rest of the crowd and pull in the traffic. That's where the agent makes their money, because I'm here to sell your home and not list your home. Does that make sense?
It very much so makes sense. Now, another part of this is when we talk about competing with your neighbors, you're competing in a way of, are you pricing it to help sell their house first? Or are you gonna cut under them to sell your house before the rest of the neighborhood? And I want to give a couple of examples. So one is on the extreme west side of town in Summerlin, and I have a listing who we were the lowest priced house in the subdivision within the gates the first time we went on market. We were positioned under everything to sell. Within 2 weeks, we have now had 13 homes within the gate go on market, and in this course of time, price reduction after price reduction has happened, and now every seller is trying to undercut and say, oh my gosh, he just lowered at 10, I'm gonna go 15. This guy lowered at 30. I have a sale that just went $60,000 under our list price of where our lower comp was. Now, let's flip the switch, go on the other side of town. I have something in Henderson. We're a huge house, pool home, largest lot in the subdivision. The appraisal comes in with the buyer's lender. We're in escrow, and the appraisal comes in $40,000 under contract price. Luckily, the seller is reasonable and motivated enough to realize a buyer won't have the extra money to come in and pay over the price. The appraisal came in, he sold it for that price. That's what's happening. So if we think of how do we make a happy sale, is to have a buyer and a seller come to the terms. But right now, it's not a seller holding firm and saying, this is how I'm gonna tell you how you're gonna do it. Reality, buyers are gonna tell you what they're willing to pay, and ultimately the lender is the one who's calling the shots and saying, this is the reality.
You know, you make a very good point there, and I just want to add to that, is that if you're a seller, you need to disconnect or disassociate yourself from the list price to the sales price, because that can vary based on concessions. And a good listing agent worth their salt will walk their seller through that concessions side of things. So, but talk more about the appraisals falling short. How are appraisals these days?
Well, they go off of trend. So appraisers have, I mean, let's just call it over 100 different factors of how they go through things and they make adjustments. We as agents and people on Zillow that says, hey, here's a comp, that's not a real comp. Appraisers are worth their weight in their specialty, and they have hundreds of ways to find and appraise homes. But when it's a trending market upward, they'll try and bring it in at purchase price, contract price. However, if it's downtrending, appraisers have to use the trend, and they see what's going on with active homes price cutting, sold prices that are under, and then the projection of like within a mile or 2 or 3 of the projected pricing coming down. They will have to price it lower, and that's why you'll see appraisals coming in short.
Okay, so let's talk about why we're here today, and we want to help you buyers out. So let me put on my buyer's hat and talk about the strategy of getting you your home. Should I be afraid of this market? No. Should I be afraid of the interest rates? No. It will never be rates will never be under 4%. That's just get that over. It's just not going to happen, because this time next year we'll be talking in the 7.25. You know, get it in while you do now, while you can, because it will change. This market is not going to change. So don't be afraid of a list price. Don't be afraid of the market out there. This market, you can navigate this market with concessions. So let's talk about that. So when you submit an offer, okay, the seller is the only party that can contribute to the buyer, whether it's buying down points, buying down your closing costs. They can add, so what is in a dollar figure? So typically it's 2% to 4% of the list price, okay? Sales price. So that being said, I typically say, hey, let's get concessions, 2 percentage points. So on a home that's $500,000, that's $10,000 that you can buy back points and or use for your closing costs. So they're handing you $10,000 to help you get into this home. Now, why say 2% versus 4%? Because I like to attack that overprice. So I like to come just under, so you see some people that are putting in list price, or they're putting in an offer $25,000 to $50,000 less than the list price, and the seller is already offended. Mm-hmm. Now, if you come in 2%, ask for 2 points, and come in, $10,000 to $15,000 under list price, still fair market value, you're putting yourself in a very, very good position to get that home and make your dreams come true. This is not an impossible market. This is a very, very buyer orientated. It's your advantage as a buyer. And if you're a VA, meaning you're a veteran, and you have that VA loan, oh my gosh, it's all day for you, mm-hmm. right?
I just have one now, and it's smooth. I mean, the deals are there if you want it. It is in your hands to make the deal, so don't think that you have any blocks. If you get somebody to negotiate on your side, swing and see if you get that hit. I mean, it's in your favor, because if you have us to structure the offer with the concessions and what the bottom line is and what your mortgage payment monthly is locked in at, how he can buy down things, it's very much a doable deal, but let the professionals help you navigate and structure the offer, instead of you just going in an internet calculator and saying, nope, I can't afford the prices, nope, I can't. I mean, it's really get us on your side, and that's how we can make it happen.
All right, so I'm going to say one more other comment, and then I'll pass it over to you. We'll wrap it up. Our relationship doesn't end just there. So when you buy that home, some people say starter home, forever home. I'm going to tell you, get your right now home, right? Yeah. Get your right now home, meaning I'm going to get that 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom home, and we're going to hold on to it, because that is your investment, right? So you're going to buy that home, and your family's going to grow, or you're going to downsize. But within that 2-3 year mark, get a home equity line of credit. If there's lower rates, definitely get the lower rate. But you can get that home equity line of credit and purchase another home.
Or make that one a rental and go get the next step up that you wanted.
That is the best strategy for you. That's your 401k. Mm-hmm. Don't buy that forever home. Buy that right now home, right? Because that makes perfect sense. We're going to help you navigate buying and selling to your advantage within the 4 or 5 year mark, and your home appreciates and you get more value on your home. There's so much more you can do with that. All right, yes. So I'm gonna hand over to you. Let's close this out.
Okay, so ultimately I think that what we see on a daily basis between our emails, our blasts, other agents giving us their listings and, hey, price reduction, motivated seller, it's everywhere. And I would say it's all property types, all price points. I mean, minus the exception of ultra luxury, but generally speaking, we've got price reductions and motivated sellers everywhere in the market. However, we have come to the buyer's market where it's a more normal 4 to 6 months. Buyers have the upper hand. They finally have the leverage, and while we are not crashing and it's the end of the world, we're softening. So it's the ideal time. And I would say maybe 9 months at least for this to continue. And it's go time. When everybody's saying, hey, let's wait. Everybody's been on the fence and waiting for so long about what's going on with the economy and with politics. All of the waiting has been over a year. I would say everybody's waiting a year. Right now is the go time. Yeah. And I would say
get off the fence.
Get off the fence.
So
jump.
Listen, if you have questions, comments, I'd love for you to just reach out. We can give you a strategy on how best to navigate this market. Let us know where you're coming from. And if you are planning to move to Las Vegas, or just come out for a visit and just hit us up. And we'd love to have that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if you just wanted to talk to a local lender, if you do need a loan and you're not exchanging and buying cash, if you want to talk to a local lender, call, text, email, and I'll just shoot you his name and number. They'll answer your questions for your specific situation.
Right.
For you, for your credit report score, for your finances.
Right.
They will dial that in instead of you just aimlessly wandering and searching the web and finding that. So
I'm James and Denise from Vegas Real Estate Advisors. You guys have a great day.
Thanks.